Welcome back to the Deliberate Leaders Podcast. I am your host and executive coach, Allison Dunn. Today, we're going to be diving into the topic of leading with stillness. Our guest is Ken Kladouris. He is an esteemed wealth advisor and a leader in the self-mastery movement. Ken recently developed an online course called Stillness to Success to help people who are truly ready to make real changes in their lives, cut through the noise, find their stillness, and create a success they want in their life. Ken, thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be your guest.
Fantastic. I love to kick these off with a deliberate conversation. What would be your number one leadership tip for our listeners?
My direct answer is always like, find your stillness, because I think that is the most important thing that an individual can do for themselves in all aspects of their life.
Yeah. I just want to be able to say, I think that's a very good connection talking about today. Could you share one tip that helps you find your stillness that our listeners could consider doing as well?
Yeah. For stillness, I practice meditation, but I'd say maybe a deliberate answer for this is having the ability to articulate your vision so that the people around you know where you're going.
Okay, great. That's a fantastic answer, Ken. Thank you so much.
Yeah, a little bit more deliberate, right? It's like
it all does start with the purpose and the clarity of our vision as to where we're heading. So that would help identify how to find the stillness as well. So good. What would be your tips on how to gain mental clarity in this crazy, hectic world we live in today?
Yeah. I'm very deliberate in all of my actions. And so having the ability to step out of the noise and create a place for you to reflect on not only what you're doing in life, but where you're going and who you want to be, I think is one of the foundational things that somebody can do. So, I spend a week in silence every year. I meditate every day. So I have a lot of practices, but most people, when I say that, are like, oh man, I don't have enough time to do that. I couldn't possibly. And so I always just say, start wherever you are, be present in the activities that you're doing, and allow yourself to, focus on what it is that you're trying to do in a moment, as opposed to letting everything else overwhelm your system.
I've never had anyone that I know say that they take an entire week in quiet. Is what I heard you say, basically, like no talking?
Correct.
How do you accomplish that? I really just want to understand, where are you doing this and how do you achieve that, and how easy is it for you?
See, like I said, every time I bring it up, everybody gets like so excited, right? Because you're probably like, oh my God, Allison, I never could do that. Like all of these things and all these thoughts, right? And like it just kind of comes up. So I've done it for 4 years in a row now.
Okay.
And the first year was pretty brutal. I'd say that like going into it, right, it's like I have family obligations, I run a company, I have clients, like all of those things. Like what is possibly going to happen when I'm gone for, a week? And I really took mine to the next level. And what I mean is, so a lot of people go to these and some people will be quiet or whatever. I didn't read, I didn't write, I didn't text, no emails, nothing, just completely unplugged for that time. And so going in, I was like, getting all those thoughts, clients, everything that comes up on a daily basis, like who's going to take care of that? And, it took me 3 days the first year to actually quiet my mind enough to actually enjoy it. And then once that happened, it was like a light switch and it became the most incredible experience I've ever had. And I cleared so many just different things. And again, obviously I really enjoy it because I do it every year now, because it's a great way to really just detach from everything and let kind of the thoughts percolate that are below the surface and get them to get to your attention and allow you to process them and really define what's holding you back in different areas and clarify your vision even further.
I guess some of the rules I automatically came up with is if I'm not speaking, then I'm clearly not reading, not writing, like not, you know what I mean, not texting. Like I just assumed all of that. So people actually go to be in stillness and then do all those things. Still
Yeah. I mean,
counterproductive.
everybody's doing their own thing,
Mhm.
right? So everybody has their own process. I mean, when you go, you're not supposed to talk and communicate. But some people are like, well, if I'm in silence, I could still text. Like if that's where you are in your journey, like that's fine. But I think that the ultimate goal is, yeah, to truly unplug and just, step away from everything.
I'm just going to stick on this for just a little bit more time because I am super curious. I would imagine that it would be very difficult. I resonate with it being difficult with your first year, even though it sounds amazing. Like how long it takes you to get your brain to settle down.
Yeah.
What in your 4 years of committing to this type of practice, what are the long-term benefits that you can speak to?
I mean, it affects every aspect of my life. And I would say that everything in my life is a result of my week of silence and meditation practice. I actually have a kind of article that I wrote on my first year experience, which I share with people online. And, each year I would say is something different. So the beauty of it is that, right, I don't go in with an intention or anything. It's like I show up and let the thoughts just come up that are going to come up. So each year something might come up that I wasn't expecting, right? Because like after that many days, like you don't know what your mind's going to throw at you. So last year, a lot of different things were coming up for me around success and reaching even higher levels. And I really had to like clear those out and I should say flush them out and really just understand what was going on, clear them because they were actually hurting me. And at the same time, like my vision of like what I could achieve in my life grew exponentially in those 5 days. And I like left feeling just so refreshed and rejuvenated. And my targets of like what I wanted to achieve, like again, multiplied. And all I did was sit in silence. So
That's a powerful thing to ponder, which I'm going to ask my listeners to do on experiencing 5 days, 7 days, 10 days. What does this look like?
so yeah, it's 5 days in silence,
Okay.
and the whole trip is 7 days.
Okay, in total. All right.
Yeah.
It's like,
So you get a little time to like process going in and a little time to process coming out, and then the bulk of it's in silence.
Is the name of this place Quiet Camp or something like that? Like, where do you go?
So they're just at different hotels. Next year, I plan on hosting my own. So if I call it Quiet Camp, you heard it here first. I'll give you naming rights.
Oh, well, I'm glad that I can be helpful to you today as well. That's fantastic. I love it.
Yeah.
One of the things that you also kind of coach on is how to do a successful balance of work life, home and everything. And so I think that work-life balance is something I have finally done a good job in my life to achieve, but I work with a lot of people who don't have it. So pour some thoughts into this podcast today for our listeners so that they have some good tips on that.
Yeah. I think the best tip is really just define what it is in each area of your life that you want and what's important to you. One of the things I have clients do is write down, what brings them happiness and joy in the different areas of their life. So that way they have clarity, maybe not of like this grand vision of like each aspect, because I feel a lot of times that becomes overwhelming to clients and they don't do anything. So if you start with something small, like, hey, when you think of your family and like your relationships, what makes you happy? Or what is it about your career that makes you happy, or spirituality, like, right? All those different areas of life, just defining like what is happiness in that area and starting there helps you create more balance because you're bringing awareness to those areas and what's important to you.
Do you find that is easy for people that you're working with to do, or is that an in-depth process?
I think that on the surface, everybody has a general idea of what brings them happiness. But I mean, there's a longer process to get to like the values and the beliefs that support that. But again, to start, on a podcast and just define what it is that brings you happiness. Like you get home today and you walk in the door and you're like, oh, smiling at something, like that's what you could write down and be like, that brings me happiness. Right. And it just starts that process of uncovering those things.
I would say that one of the most important things in life is to truly be happy, and lots of things make me very happy. And yet I meet a lot of people who that's not their purpose in life, and it's something very different. And so I love the lens on, like, for me, this would be a very easy exercise to go through, but I think there's a lot of people who don't know what makes them happy.
Right.
Yeah.
And I talk about a lot, like people don't even know what they want.
People know what they don't want.
Yep.
They don't know what they do want.
Exactly. Yeah. Right.
That
and
is,
it's the hard way it sounds simple, right? It's like, oh, this is not what I don't want. But to change that lens into the positive is very difficult for people.
Do you have any specific techniques to help in kind of helping someone work through that?
I guess the easiest thing is to just take what you don't want and find a way to say that same thing. Yeah, exactly. Flip it to a positive. Okay. And it might not make sense like when you write it down, because like a lot of people are like, that doesn't grammatically correct or whatever. But really, if it's just, at least it's in a positive lens, and then you'll start to create that habit of looking at things from a positive standpoint, and then it'll become easier.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The program that you have launched and you lead is called Leading with Stillness. And I would love for you to share kind of the genesis of what did you create it for, and what are you hoping are the outcomes for people who participate in, like, do it with intention?
Yeah. So it's Stillness to Success. And it really is to help people that were in the similar situation than I was a few years ago, right? So many people, I feel, and I was in the same place, right? Where you get to a point in your career where you kind of hit plateaus and you really aren't excited anymore. And like, it's very mundane and you're just kind of doing the same thing all over. And your life has kind of lost its purpose. It's unfulfilling. And you're kind of just going through the steps. And so to help people get from that to living a thriving, fulfilled life, we teach people first how to meditate, because creating that mental clarity, I think, is extremely simple when you have a practice like meditation to hone those mental skills. From there, we go into defining like core values, creating a vision statement, and really creating that lens of positivity in somebody's life in all aspects, and then creating a plan for them to achieve it going forward. And then we support them through coaching, both on one-on-one and group, to make sure that they're staying on plan and hitting their targets.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah.
You've brought up meditation a couple of times, and I personally don't think that I do meditation very well, and I'm just going to own that. I work on it, but my brain really does. I think all female brains work this way, where it's like little, pop things happening all the time. What are the benefits? Like, why should people meditate? Let's just start with purely, what are the benefits of doing it?
I mean, there's hundreds of benefits. You could look up everything. What I think is interesting is that, right, you said you're like, oh, I'm not a good meditator because I have thoughts. And I hear that a lot. And it's always interesting to me because as a human being, we always have thoughts. Mm-hmm. So the purpose of meditation isn't to not have thoughts. Mm-hmm. It's really to create a space and a ritual for you to, step out of the noise of the everyday world and dip into the space between thoughts. And it's just that practice of having that mantra and sitting and relaxing and allowing your physiology to relax, your breathing to relax, to lower your stress, and to just tap into that stillness, as I call it, of the mantra meditation so that you can take those benefits out into the rest of your day.
Okay. I just want to clarify because we kind of kicked this off talking about doing like a week of silence, right?
Yep.
I'd say most people would say that that's kind of what you would think is the benefits of a meditation, right? Except for extended.
Yeah.
And in stillness, you actually are just with your thoughts as opposed to the space between the thoughts. I don't know if I'm like relaying this correctly. So I guess my question here is, in creating the stillness for success,
yep,
what is the area of focus for the program? Is it the space in between or just allowing to hear the thoughts you're having?
I think that's two different questions.
So
the area of life that we like focus on is usually career, because it's a thing that somebody can really measure and relate to. But what we're doing in the stillness practice is allowing them to hear the inner voice and their true kind of voice inside when it comes to answering questions like, what makes you happy? What's your vision? What do you want in life? Right? Because so many people through social media and family and everybody else knows what they don't want and can just throw off stuff that they heard in the news or online or what society thinks they should be doing as the answer. But we're really trying to tap into who they are on a deeper subconscious level. And the easiest way to like hear that voice is to have a practice of hearing that voice frequently. And that's through meditation.
Fantastic.
Does that answer your question?
It absolutely did. And
okay.
For like reading through what I was trying to ask, do you have a favorite tool that you use for guided meditation?
So I'm actually a Chopra certified meditation instructor.
Say that one more time. It's a what?
Deepak Chopra.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So Deepak has a certified meditation program, and he has his primordial sound meditation, which is a mantra-based meditation practice. And that's what we teach all of our clients.
Okay, fantastic. And is there a favorite mantra that you go to, is your go-to when you're meditating?
So each mantra is actually based on kind of where you were born and at what time. So everybody only has one mantra.
Unique to them.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you willing to share yours?
Yeah, we don't share our mantras. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I figured I'd ask.
But what I would say is, again, it's about creating that practice.
Okay.
So because it's the same mantra and you're going to sit in a quiet place, you really ritualize that experience. So your body starts to know, like when it hears the mantra, like, okay, I'm supposed to relax. I'm supposed to do these things. And you become, right, just on cue doing it. And it makes the whole experience that much easier. Okay.
Fantastic. So the repetition of it and then like the kind of the muscle memory of it all.
Exactly.
How long have you been practicing a mantra?
I've been meditating for 6 or 7 years.
Okay. And what would you say are the benefits from that practice for you?
Well, it got me to my week of silence. It's a great start for, again, just hearing who you are, what you want in life. You know, for me, I used to have this belief that I had to control every aspect of everything, right? So I was a financial advisor, very conservative career. Like, this is what we do. We control the outcomes, like all of those things. And it was very stressful, wasn't very fulfilling. And like my entire life was basically calculating risk and trying to control it. And through my meditation practice, I learned to slowly let go of that need for control. Then I found out that the control I had was an illusion because things are going to happen anyway, and then I have to deal with it. And now it's much more in tune with what's occurring around me. I'm a better listener. Things just get done that need to get done. And I'm just more present. All of those things, I think, affect every aspect of my life. And it all started with 20 minutes.
Okay. Fantastic. I appreciate the backstory. Do you still do that as a career, or have you completely pivoted, I guess is the proper word?
No, still have my wealth management practice, and then we have a real estate firm and the coaching.
All right. Fantastic.
Yeah.
I appreciate all of the tips that you have given us. Is there anything that you would like to share that I've not asked about?
Mhm. No, I think we're good. I mean, we hit all the high levels of everything, so I think it's
Fantastic.
good. Yeah.
When is your next week of silence?
Well, I don't know when this will be recorded or released, I should say, but probably by the time this is out, I'll already be finished.
Okay, fantastic. So out next week. So probably not true.
Oh, it'll be out next week? Yeah, no, I'll be getting ready to leave for it. Middle of September, I'll be gone.
Fantastic. And since you're sharing this, and now I'm curious, do you do Week of Silence by yourself, or are you with a group of people?
So I've done both.
Okay.
With a group is so much better. Like they say that there's like a resonance that happens in the environment when you have a lot of people meditating, and you can Google that and look at the studies of that. But when you're in silence, there is something special that happens when you have 20 or 50 people, whatever it may be, together. It changes the environment. And in addition to that, like you have like that camaraderie of like a connection with people, even though you're not saying anything to them. And it's a beautiful experience to do that. When I did it by myself, it was still good, but it was harder to control. I was going to say control. The environment, because you're not in a group with people facilitating all of your meals and everything, it's just a little tougher to like relax into it because you're still having to deal with some aspects of life.
Yeah. Which one are you heading into soon?
Group.
You are going into a group.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I only did the by myself because COVID.
Yeah.
Right. No one was hosting events. I was like, well, I need to do my silence, so I'll just go do it by myself. And now that we don't have that problem anymore, I can go back to groups.
There you go. Even if I'm going to be in silence, I would probably want to be with a group just for the energy that comes with that. So, well, I hope that your week of silence brings you greater clarity for this coming year. And I appreciate you sharing all of this with us today.
Thank you, Allison. I really enjoyed our conversation.